I've read stuff by preachers from long ago. And to a man, every one of them says, I can't see how it's going to last another 10 years. He's got to come back. And that goes back hundreds of years. The purpose of this set of lessons here in Matthew 24 is not so much to get you trying to figure out when he's coming back, because that isn't the important thing. The important thing is, what are you doing while you're waiting? And so all of these parables are talking about him coming back in surprise, but finding groups of people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's talking about how he is handling those groups of people. So the emphasis is not on his return so much as it is on the master coming back and checking on the servants. Verse 44, therefore you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Verse 45, who then is the faithful and wise servant, whom the master has set over his household, to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom the master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the emphasis here is not so much on the second coming as it is on the unexpectedness of that coming, and what's your attitude because he didn't come when you expected him. That's the emphasis of this series of scriptures. I don't know if anybody ever dealt with an embezzler. I haven't either, but I've read a lot about them. And one of the things that an embezzler thinks is, I will just take this right now and I will put it back next week before anybody finds that it's gone. And what typically happens with an embezzler is they keep taking little bits with every intention that when their ship comes in, or they win the lottery, or their uncle dies, or whatever event, they're going to put it all back. They don't regard themselves as thieves. Well, the attitude of this wicked servant is, he's not here. I expected him back by now. So I've got a little slack here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and drink and carouse and have myself a little party, and I'll put everything back in order before he comes. Very much like the embezzler. I'm just going to do this for a few minutes, and then I'll put everything back in order, and then when he comes, you won't even know what happened. And what Yeshua is saying here is, that's a really poor strategy, because the return of the master is going to be something, and I will put my own Johnnyology parentheses in here, that the wicked will not know. My impression is that most people focus on the coming and the unknown nature of the coming, and aren't really focused as much on, he left you with something to do. When he comes back, he wants to find you doing it. What he's saying here with the good servant, I don't think the good servant is particularly surprised, because the good servant is focusing on what he's supposed to do. So when the master comes back, oh, cool, good to see you again. Glad you're here. Whereas the wicked one is not focusing on what he's going to do, so the coming for him is going to be a surprise.